Welcome for today's webinar organized by the Library Professional Association, hosted by Moving World. I, Anand Jha, get this privilege to host this meeting today, and I'm a technical support for you people next 2 hours. And with me, we have the Utkarsh from Moving World. He assists me in the technical part. So I'm not taking much time. I just hand over this platform to Anilji. He will take further. He introduce today's topic, today's speaker, and he invited Dr. Malviya to speak something about Library Professional Association. So Dr. Dhiman, floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Also to our speaker, Dr. Veena Prakashe, Anandji, Malviya. I think it will be better to say a few words by Dr. R.M. Malviya about Library Professional Association. After that, I will start. So, Dr. Malviya, say something about the Library Professional Association first.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. I would request all the participants kindly mute your audio and video. I, Dr. Ramanand Malviya, President of LPA, welcomes to all in this online webinar on research ethics in environment on 24th, 2020. The speaker of this webinar is Veena Prakashe. She is information scientist, professor, RTMNU, Nagpur, Maharashtra. Prakashe, lecture topic, research, ethics in e-environment. It is very important for teachers, researchers, students, and academicians in our academic society. Research that involves human ethics depends on complex legal, social, and political issues. Research ethics especially deals with the analysis of ethical issues that are raised when people are involved in participating in the research or writing in research paper, etc. The consent is to key principles of research ethics is to important that persons who is invited to be a part of research understand. As research ethics for the conduct of research is utmost important, various governments, universities, and professional associations have given specific codes, rules, and policies for the conducting research. General summary of ethical principles given by various codes and summarized by these codes, Samu and Raskinnik, which are as follows. Ethical principles and codes are honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness, respect for intellectual property, confidentiality, responsible publications, responsible mentoring, respect for colleagues, social responsibility, non-discrimination, competence, legality, animal care, human subject protections, etc. Library Professional Association welcomes Dr. Veena Prakashe to accept our request for her speech. This 8th online webinar is organized by Library Professional Association, New Delhi. Moderator of this webinar is Dr. Anil Kumar Dhiman, Regional Coordinator LPA, Uttarakhand, and Information Scientist, Gurukul Kangdi University, Haridwar. This webinar has drawn a widespread attention and a overwhelming response, both in the terms of participation and the subject, its current needs, and important to the library professionals and students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. I welcome once again to all participants. So I will just brief our much on the research and its ethics already been told by Dr. Malviya. but I would like to add to few words, and then we will proceed to hear the invited talk from Dr. Veena. So basically, research can be said anything which is systematically conducted on a given problem, on a given topic. So if you are conducting any systematic type of study, that will be known as the research. Research basically may be of two types, basic and applied. Basic researches are basically fundamental in nature, and they are non-commercial. While action research or applied research, they are meant for human beings, well-beings of human. For example, such we are suffering from COVID-19, and the vaccination program is all over the world being researched by different organizations, different states, different countries. So such type of the research comes under applied research, which benefits the human being. Besides that, sometimes PhD itself is misled to the concept that it is the only research, but it is not. PhD may be say one of the part of the research that is conducted for having a degree, doctorate in particular subjects. But besides that, individuals, themselves, or within the group organizations, with the help of group of peoples or the nations, the research can also be conducted. The best example is COVID, as I have already told you. But if we talk about the PhD, so this is also systematic study. First of all, we decide the topic with the help of restricting and indexing periodicals. With that, much of a particular subject has not been carried out. Much of the scope on which we are going to conduct research has not been covered earlier. So to ascertain that, we look into the abstract and indexing periodicals. Once the topic is decided, then we go for review literature, then research studies and experimentation analysis collections is done. Then some verifications of objects already made for PhD are verified. So this is simply about the PhD. Earlier, it was very tough to conduct the PhD. Restricted indexing periodicals were not very much available in the common libraries, and we have to go to special kind of the libraries for seeing that. Suppose if you want to get something from LISA, so it was not available with the common libraries, and we have to go for LISA into the special library where library and information science program were conducted. But nowadays, with the digital environment, we can have online much of information. So this has provided us the benefit, and the research has become so much easy. Once, on one hand, it is providing facilities, but duplicacy of the research and cut and paste technology has related to the problems. So easily one can get information from the internet sources, and paraphrasing, and by changing the language, PhD are submitting in the university's environment. That is not ethical, and it has already been told by Dr. Ann Marlia. So these undercomes the ethics of the libraries. So today we are fortunate enough that we have Dr. Veena Prakashe with us. She's having more than 2.5 decade experience in handling the information careers in Rashtriya Tukozi, Nagpur University, and she is working there as information scientist. She is having MSc in computer science, MSc and PhD library information science. Many candidates she has guided for a PhD, and many more are working with her. So with this words of introductions, I invited Dr. Veena Prakashe to share their views and to talk upon the research ethics in the electronic environment. So I invite Dr. Veena Prakashe for her talk. Dr. Veena Prakashe, please come.
Yes, sir, my video has been stopped.
Dr. Anand, please.
Sir, the host has stopped my video.
No, ma'am, it's on from this side.
But it says the host has asked you to start your video, okay? Okay, fine, sir.
Yes, ma'am, it's working. Yeah.
Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
sure. Please go ahead.
A very good day to all the audience. first of all, I am very amazed to see there are more than 232 participants in this webinar, and we are still counting, which is very encouraging. And okay, as we all know that we are going through a lockdown period which has been enforced by our government in view of this COVID pandemic. So I think this is something very good utilization of time that we are going to make today. And probably I consider that this time of the day is lethargic, but I thought there will be less number of participants, but I am really encouraged by looking at the number of participants. So, okay, the topic that has been given to me is research ethics in e-environment. So, without wasting any more time, I will start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible to? I assume that it is visible to all.
Not now, ma'am.
Is it now?
No, ma'am.
You cannot see my screen?
Right now, not, ma'am.
No, not.
Ma'am, there is the green button on your screen. So
Just wait for a second. I have pressed that screen share, you see. I have already pressed screen share. There is this screen share. Okay, I have pressed screen share. And now I am going to share it. Is it visible to all?
yes, ma'am. Now it's okay.
Is it visible? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I have to see this.
You just do the full screen, so it will come.
Yeah, that is what I am doing.
Okay. Yeah, ma'am. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so ethics in academic research. So first things first, what are the attributes of a good research? Because you see, the topic of my today's talk is focused on ethics in research. Though the topic is not, something new that has come of late, it is something which has been discussed by various communities and professions. So similarly, like other professions have their ethics, similarly, we as researchers, and especially in academic field, we have some ethics for research. We should have such ethics. Okay, so let us have a look at the attributes of good research. What kind of research is called as a good research? Okay, so there are certain characteristics which make any research a good research. The first and foremost is that a research originates from a question. Every researcher should have a question in his mind. He should have a problem in his mind, and the problem or the question should be such which the researcher is able to define or write the statement of the problem in an unambiguous manner. And the second characteristic of a good research is it requires clear articulation of a goal. Every research should have some objectives, and it should be objective driven. Then research usually divides the problem into sub-problems. Not that it is necessary for every research, but it so happens that if research is a it's a full-fledged research over a period of time, then we find that the entire problem is amenable to be divided into certain sub-problems, and we can go on solving each sub-problem, and then their solutions will ultimately lead us towards the major objective of the main problem. The research should be guided by a specific research problem or question or hypothesis. Every research should go on the right path, and it should work, it should proceed in such a manner that it is fetching towards its objectives and hypothesis that one has taken. Research requires a specific plan of proceeding. Research requires a lot of resources in terms of, information sources, data that is involved, even at times a lot of money is involved as far as, conducting the experiment or collecting the data is concerned. So your time is involved, your money is involved, and a lot of resources are involved. So it's better to have a plan. We should have timelines for every phase of research. We can, have our research divided into different phases, and we can allocate the resources likewise. Research rests on certain critical assumptions. Of course, we have certain assumptions in our mind, and during the course of time, we see whether those assumptions are really, they are tested also, whether they are making some contribution towards our research. The seventh is research requires the collection and interpretation of data. Of course, a lot of data is required, be it your descriptive research or your experimental research. For every kind of research, be it scientific research or social science research, we need to lay our hands on all kinds of relevant and related data, and then we have to analyze the data using appropriate tools so as to draw certain inferences. And the last 8th point, I consider this as one of the most important characteristic of a research. A research is cyclical by nature. No research is you can say that it is finished. Once you reach your objectives, once you find your conclusions and findings are drawn, you cannot say that my research is concluded and my research has come to a dead end. Every research tends to ultimately lead to new researches. At the end of when we draw conclusion, we find that, okay, there are certain other things, which need to be addressed or which need to be, conducted as full-fledged researches or research projects. So academic research is defined as a process of collecting, analyzing, interpreting information to answer those questions, the points that I've already addressed. But to qualify as good research, the process must have certain, characteristics. In my previous slide, I discussed about, in general, what is a research. Now I am talking about academic research. So what are various characteristics or attributes or properties of an academic research? So first and foremost is, it is based on the work of others. One of the very important things. No research is done in isolation, you see. The basis of our research, even for the purpose of finding out the topic of your research, which should not be duplicated, which should not have been done earlier, which should be of some consequence, some significance to the society, we have to go through the previous researches. And we have to use, at times we find that we have to refer to their results, to their methods that they have used. So in this way, we can say that the academic research is based on the work or the researches of others, and it can be replicated and doable. It should be doable. At times, you find some topic which is very fanciful, which you find, oh my God, I should do this kind of research and this will be kind of eureka kind of thing. But then we find that it is not practical. The resources are not available, or at times it is not doable. So, and the next property is generalizable to other settings. While conducting academic research, we normally tend to, select a sample data. We choose sample data in a very scientific manner, which is a representative data, sample data. And then we, on the basis of our tests that we, on the basis of the data and the test and the analysis methods that we, apply on those data on using that sample data, we later on, we draw some inferences, and later on we try to generalize those inferences and come to some conclusions. So that is called generalizable to other settings. It means whatever was true for that sample data, it should be true for other set of sample data also. Or when we increase the size of the data, our results, our findings should remain true, should remain valid. Okay? So it should be generalizable. It is based on some logical rationale and tied to the theory. We know that, whatever, if we are conducting research in whatsoever subject we are in, it is related, it is very much dependent on the theory. So the concept, the theory, is important. In a way, it has, okay. And then it is incremental. As I told you, the size, you may go on increasing the size of the data. You may go on, choosing another set of test data, and your findings should remain correct and should remain applicable. So we can say that the research is incremental. What is true for a particular region, if we increase the region, we are increasing the size of the region, and the findings that we have gone through, we have arrived at, they may be applicable. If at all they changes, then there should be some data backing it. It addresses directly or indirectly some real problem in the world, of course. That is what I have been emphasizing on, that every research should be significant to the society. It should be able to be useful to some part of the society. Like we conduct researches in, for example, in library and information sciences. So our researches are, of significance to not only to the librarians, not only to the library and information professionals, but they're also useful, and they are also serving some purpose to the policymakers, the government agencies or the funding agencies for that matter, or to the user community, or to the technological world who are designing various gadgets and various tools to be applied in the library. So that way, our researches should be, they should be useful to the society. It clearly states the variables or constructs, and means that I have already explained that whatever data we have taken, it has to be examined using standard tests and standard methods, valid and verifiable. It should be, and the researcher is sincerely interested or invested in the research. Yeah, this part, because my topic today is research ethics, which actually deals with the behavior and conduct of the researcher throughout his research. So first and foremost thing is that the researcher should be involved in his research. He should have 100% presence in the research. Okay, so that was about, what is a research, then what an academic research is, what are its properties. And now the second term that have been used in the title of today's talk is ethics. So in general, what are ethics, and where, citizens, when they are, children, or when they are students, where do they learn those ethics? Every student learns the ethics from his mentor or advisor, from fellow students, from his family, of course, and from, his teachers, and from religious belief also. That also has great impact on them. And then discussions in various, at various forums, in groups, and then professional organizations, and of course, courses which are dealing with ethical issues. There are certain courses which are dedicated in this topic of ethics, professional ethics. Okay, so academic research and then ethics, and then we come to scientific knowledge. So scientific knowledge is, we can say, the one which is present in various research publications, which is created or evolved by various researcher communities and is published in various scientific knowledge. So sharing of scientific knowledge, where it takes place? The sharing of scientific knowledge takes place in various research publications. They can be a single author, or, authors can collaborate and come out with their research and publish it. And then there is a big issue of scientific misconduct. So why to share scientific knowledge? Why to publish in journals? Sharing of scientific knowledge, as I said in my previous slide, sharing of scientific knowledge is important, and it is done through various journals and, various presentations, various publications in peer-reviewed journals, and of course in your PhD and MPhil thesis, or your PG dissertations, or your research reports. So why to share? Why to share scientific knowledge? Science is a shared knowledge based on a common understanding of some aspects of the physical or social world. So why to publish? Why to publish your research into a journal or into in a form of a thesis or in form of a research report? Or why should you at all make presentations about your research in a conference? Why it is essential? See what the experts have to say about it. Why to publish your research? Why to share your scientific knowledge? A paper is an organized description of hypotheses, data and conclusions intended to instruct the reader. If your research does not generate papers, please, I want your attention here. If your research does not generate papers, it might just as well not have been done. If it wasn't published, it wasn't done. You see? So if you are doing research in isolation, in secrecy, you are not publishing it in any journal, or if you are not making presentation in the conferences, if you are not coming out with your research report, your research findings may be very good. They could be very useful to the society, but since you have not published it, so it's like you have not done your research at all. So how this, research publication community works, there is a very good bonding between three entities. First is your authors. Authors are the creators of scientific knowledge. Then there are reviewers. Reviewers are against scientific, the scientists or the peers, the experts who will review your researches, and then they will publish in some journal. So they have a great amount of interactivity with each. Okay, now I come to authorship. See, you all must be knowing, what I'm going to talk today is, more or less known to everybody. But we have to pay attention to ethics part of it. So what is authorship? The list of authors establishes accountability as well as credit. And you know what happens? When we publish some research paper or some article, we are so self-engrossed, so much self-involved that we only consider the credit part of it. I have done this much research. I have so many papers to my credit. All we talk about is, to my credit, I have this much research contribution. And we tend to forget the accountability part of it. Every author is accountable to the research that one has published. Policies at most scientific journals state that a person should be listed as the author of a paper only if the person made a direct and substantial intellectual contribution to the design of research, the interpretation of data, or the drafting of the paper. So this particular point says that who can become author of a research article? The person who has made some research contribution. Okay, not the person who has typed it, not the person who has drawn some figures for you, okay, not the person who has provided you emotional support or technical support, but the persons whosoever has made scientific contribution to your paper. If that contribution could be, perhaps the contribution at times may be small, but then also you have to make that person as the co-author, because if it is intellectual contribution, every person should be given due credit in terms of authorship. This is important. You may say that, okay, I have acknowledged him. I have written a paragraph at the end of my paragraph of acknowledgement, and I have given due acknowledgements and due gratitude. I have expressed my gratitude towards all those who have directly or indirectly helped. No. If any person has made any intellectual contribution to your paper, to your research, that person should be considered as co-author of your paper, and not his name should not merely be used as a part in acknowledgement section. In this figure, I'm just trying to depict it. See, there is one lab in charge, and another person is the one who seems to be like their student, her student, And you know what the lab in charge is saying? Great manuscript, but lab chief always gets listed as first author. So what the person is, you know, what I'm trying to emphasize here is, you know, it happens in science researches. All the equipment is not available in every, you know, department. Like if we talk about universities, some equipment may be available in CSIR lab or in ICAR lab or in some other, you know, some research institute or some other academic institute for that matter. So you may give your data to those labs, and those lab faculty are using your data and giving you the results. It means they are also contributing to your research. They are the intellectual contributors. So their name should appear in the list of authors. So authors' responsibilities. What are the responsibilities of authors? Preparation and submission of manuscripts, and to follow general rules. You know, we all are aware that whenever we are submitting any research paper, we prepare our manuscript while looking at the, you know, format or guidelines or the template given by the journal or the publisher. Every journal has their own template and format and their rules. So we follow that rule, and accordingly we write our paper. We prepare our manuscript in that manner. So most of the publishers, they do specify about, you know, what should be the ethics, the research ethics also they mention in their, on either on their websites or at the paperback of their journals, and we should go through them very carefully, ensure that the work is new and original. These are, I know you all are might be feeling that this is known to everybody. All authors are aware of submission and agree with content and support submission. This point is important here in this slide, that all authors are aware of submission, because it happens many a times that there are, you know, it's a collaborative research. There are 10 authors, and a few of them are not even aware that my name has been put on some research article and it has been submitted for publication also. So every author should agree to it. Every author should be aware of it. Agree that the manuscript can be examined by anonymous reviewers. Provide copies of related work submitted. It may happen that the journal at times may ask you about giving them a copy of their data, the data that you have collected, the data that has been generated through your experiments in the lab. The agency, the publisher, or the reviewer, if it's not the publisher but it is actually the reviewer, he has the right to ask you for the data. Of course, your data will be kept confidential. Obtain copyright permission. If figures and tables need to be reproduced, we should, it is the responsibility of all the authors to obtain permissions, and we are aware of these rules also because almost all of us are into research publications. Include proper affiliation. It so happens that, you know, I'll give you one example. One of my students who is, you know, working in some other organization, and she is working with me, she is conducting her research under me, and we you know, we publish a paper, a research paper in some journal. Then what her affiliation should be? If her research is if the publication is a part of the research that she is doing under me, then I think her affiliation should be researcher, we call it research scholar, and the name of the university where she is doing that research, or the institute where she is doing research. And if the person is doing that, is coming out with the paper not in the guidance of their PhD guide or their MPhil guides, then they can give the affiliation as the place of their employment. So what is considered publishable? What is publishable? So paper which gives report about original and significant findings. At times, you know, it may happen that your research is original, completely original, agreed, but it is not, you know, beneficial to any part of the society. You are unable to you know, present before the community that which part of the society your research is going to benefit. So it is not considered significant then, and likely to be of interest. Okay, papers that are well organized and well written. Of course, one has to follow the template and the formats given, and it should be well organized. And by now we know that what the structure of a paper should be. The paper should have a clear-cut, unambiguous title without using any fanciful terms, without using any ambiguous terms into it. At the same time, the title should be clear. It should indicate what goes into your research. Then you should write an abstract in a proper manner, and abstract should not have citations, because abstract is basically you're writing about what you have done in your research paper. And then it should have keywords, and then you write an introduction, then you give hypothesis, objectives and all, and related literature survey. That also is some part of literature survey that you have done. Some important researches you mention over there that which are helpful in formulating your objectives also. And then what is your research methodology, scope of your research, and then your data analysis and discussion, and then major findings, and then conclusions, and then a list of references. References should be only those which have been used in your text and properly cited in your text using any particular reference styles that are standard ones, APMLA, Chicago, Vancouver, or whichever, or IEEE, or the style that has been, the referencing style that has been specified by the journal. Okay? So, and then your paper should be concise and complete. It happens that, the research scholars, and at times the new science professionals, research professionals, they start writing a paper, and the paper goes into 30, 35, 50 pages, and they really do not know how to make it concise. So you should be able to say your words, to express your research in the given limit of words also. So it should be concise as well as complete. So what is not acceptable when it comes to research, when it comes to research publications? What is not acceptable by the scientific community? The papers that are routine extensions of previous reports. I'll give an example here. Status of research is conducted, say status of women in a particular area, and then in the next research you simply increase the area. Okay, so such kind of researches are mere extension, or at times you increase the size of data. In your previous research there was say 50 users feedback, and in another research there are say 200 researches. These are merely extensions of previous reports. So such, or you may add something very small, very insignificant to it. So such researches are not expected. Incremental and fragmentary reports are also not expected. They should be complete, concise. It actually indicates that your objectives should be unique, and your title of research, your research problem, as I mentioned in the very first slide, that you should have a research question in your mind, and that research question or problem should not have been duplicated. You should not be doing something which has already been done earlier. Okay? And verbose and poorly organized papers, which are very lengthy and which are very poorly organized, not giving any idea about what research methodology has been done or what literature you have reviewed before designing your hypothesis and objectives and methodology. So such papers are also at times rejected. Violations of ethical guidelines. This is something very serious because it includes plagiarism also into it. So 3 things that come into violation of research ethics, which have been stressed upon by the research communities of late, during last 5 to 7 years, I can say that these are fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. Some people tend to call it plagiarism. Both the terms are correct, because I have checked on dictionaries with pronunciations. In some part of the world, it is called as plagiarism. In some other part, in some other countries, it is pronounced as plagiarism. So 3 things I'm going to address now in research ethics, which is plagiarism, research misconduct. All these 3 things come in misconduct. And these are FFP: fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. research misconduct means fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism in proposing, performing, or reviewing research, or in reporting research results. Plagiarism can occur in your research proposal, in your data analysis and entire performance of your research, or in review, literature review. Should not be copied from someone, and in reporting, in finding the results and writing the conclusions. So in none of the parts of your research, no kind of research misconduct is accepted. It could be in terms of fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. So what is fabrication? I have plenty of friends, who are working in CSIR laboratories, and I too happen to work in CSIR laboratories in Pilani and in Niri Nagpur also. So, my colleagues used to say that while performing an experiment, if you do not have the, all kinds of equipment and material and resources with you, and you are in a hurry to conduct the research and submit the report, so, they were sometimes resorting to unethical practices. If you do not have the results, if you cannot make the results through experiments, then fake the results. So the saying was, if you cannot make it, you fake it. So this is malpractice, unethical practice in terms of research. Then there is falsification. Falsification is manipulating research material, equipment, or processes, or changing or omitting data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research report. So if you are playing with your data, if you find that your data is incomplete and you are kind of interpolating some values so that your graph comes out nicely or comes out in an expected manner, so that is also not, not considered as a good practice in research. And plagiarism, of course, plagiarism is the appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. So what is important here is plagiarism can occur if we are lifting somebody else's idea, or if we are taking some hints from or copying some others processes, or we are using some other researchers' results, previous researchers' results, and we are allowed to do it. As I said in my earlier part of my lecture, that our academic researches are based on previous researches. Fine, nobody is denying to this fact. But if you are going to use any previous researches, ideas, processes, results, or anything out of it, we have to give due credit to the original research, or it will become a case of plagiarism. Research misconduct does not include, there is a rider to it. Research misconduct does not include honest error or differences of opinion. We may write a paper, and there could be some other scientist or professional or our peer who may not agree to what I have to say in my review article. The other researcher, the peers in my field may tend to disagree with what I have to say. My opinions could be different from theirs, but then it doesn't make my research plagiarized. So the peers or the researchers in the same field may have difference of opinion. That doesn't amount to plagiarism. So definition of plagiarism and self-plagiarism. Plagiarism, using the ideas or words of another person without giving appropriate credit. Self-plagiarism, the verbatim copying or reuse of one's own research. It happened. There was a case. I know a person, and she submitted a research project to some agency, to some funding agency, government funding agency, and then at the time of her presentation, defense, it was found that her research was plagiarized, and it was plagiarized from her own source. The same kind of research was guided by her, and it was done by her student only. And she had no idea that this is also a case of plagiarism. So it's not that every time the plagiarism is intended. At times it is because of ignorance also, because we do not think, we think that whatever we have done, we have all the right to reproduce it at several places. Both types of plagiarism are considered to be unacceptable practice in scientific literature. So we have certain that it is the responsibility of the author to ensure that the submitted manuscript is original and shall not contain plagiarized material. Plagiarism is passing off of another person's work as one's own, that is reusing the text, results, or creative expression without explicitly acknowledging or referencing the original author or publication. Author should be aware this includes self-plagiarism, defined as the self-plagiarism, which is defined as the reuse of significant portions of the author's own published work without attribution to the original source. So if at all I am going to refer to my own research, my own previous research, I have to give proper references or citation of it, so that it will be shown that this is not something new that is has been generated in this particular research. It is the responsibility of the author to obtain proper permissions from and to appropriately cite or quote the material not original to the author. And these are something which we all have are acquainted with, because of late there has been a lot of hue and cry over plagiarism and many cases, and people were really worried how to handle this particular issue. And there are many softwares that have come to our rescue, but at the same time they are double-edged sword, and I'm coming to that. In this context, you see, this is important, friends. Quote, we say that quoted work, all quoted work will be out of plagiarism. So quoted work is defined as reusing others' works with proper acknowledgement. Appropriate citations applies whether the material was written by another author or the author or by himself, by the author himself, his own work that he or she is citing. Okay, so what I wish to impress upon here is that, because in UGC's plagiarism policy, it is mentioned that all quoted work is excluded from plagiarism. So what is the definition of quoted work? Quoted work also includes all cited works. And friends, sooner or later, ethical violations get exposed. We know plenty of examples in this, regarding this also. As I told you, plagiarism occurs ignorantly also. In most of the cases, it has been done ignorantly. What are the reasons for plagiarism? Why? Are people really, adamant on unethical practices? No, I don't consider this as true. There may be, some exceptions are here and there, but we cannot generalize on the basis of it. Academic community has been doing good work. So what are the reasons for plagiarism? See, this child is telling her teacher, really, see what is written in this cartoon box. The student is telling her teacher, really, someone told me it's not plagiarism if they are dead. So again, we are ignorant about this thing, that even if the author is dead, it remains his or her intellectual property. So if at all we are going to use somebody's work, we have to properly quote it or cite. The increasing, okay, just a few seconds before I mentioned that, double-edged sword, how this World Wide Web has become a double-edged sword. The increasing availability of scientific literature on the World Wide Web has proven to be a double-edged sword, allowing plagiarism to be more easily committed while simultaneously enabling its simple detection through the use of automated software. So putting this entire paragraph in simple words, you see, we are copying the material from internet, and from internet only we are being caught. We are being caught copying or plagiarizing. Why? Because the software, the plagiarism softwares are also referring to all those open access and license, most of the license and all the open access material from which the authors or the researchers have copied, and they have forgotten to give proper citations and quote the others. And now I'll give some, when people are caught for plagiarism, what are some very common clarifications? And these clarifications, friends, I have put these clarifications not for the purpose of fun, but a lot of research is required looking into these clarifications also, because they indicate some of them are intentional, but most of them are unintentional also. As I told you, people are ignorant about what is plagiarism, what all is amounting to plagiarism and falsification. So you see, one of the very common clarification that is given by the authors when somebody points out that, see, this part you have plagiarized, then what do they say? They say that there are probably only X amount of word combinations and could lead to Y amount of statements. I have no idea why the pieces are similar, except that I'm sure I do not have a good enough memory. Basically, when a particular paragraph is found to be, plagiarized from other source, which the author has forgotten or have not cited or quoted, then the author says that, and the paragraph is not written one-to-one. It has not been copied one-to-one. And what the author says then? He says that I have written it in my language, and if it is matching with some other author's language, what should I say? There are certain words which are very important to be put into my sentence. So what should I say? If these words are important, if you try to make sentences, there will be just 2-3 possible ways to make sentences, and that is why my sentences are matching with some other authors. So this particularly the author is trying to say that, and we all have faced this kind of situation. Most of us have faced it. This is very prevalent. And the second clarification is, I was not involved in this article. I have no idea why my name is included. When somebody points out that some part of your paper has not been, properly acknowledged, and you have taken some other's material which has not been properly acknowledged, and the author says, my God, I have not written it. I do not know. The other authors have added my name over there. This happens when it is a collaborative research. It many times happens. This article, and another clarification is, this article was mainly done by a young fellow, Dr. So-and-so. I made the corrections in the text and completed the article. Unfortunately, Dr. So-and-so has died in January this year, so we can't ask him for the reason. Of course, collaborative research, it looks like it is some kind of research project, and article has generated from the research project, and the research the senior researcher is saying that I have no idea. I told some corrections to be made, but it seems that my junior has not made corrections. This is also very, very, very common. I have some cases, from my researcher community where this kind of things have happened, and the senior researcher has said that no, I do not know. I told my research student to make the corrections. He has not done it, and it is his responsibility. So the next clarification, a popular one, is I am not a native English speaker. I do not know the language, so I don't know whether it is being plagiarized, whether my matter is being, matching with somebody else's matter, because I'm not. This language is not my language. So passing the blame onto the language or the knowledge of a particular language. And another clarification, to be honest with you, I was not aware of the fact that I need to take prior permission of the authors of the original article. As such, I'm facing many difficulties and hardships in my person. Oh my God. So the person, they also gave this excuse that, I have no idea that I have to take a prior permission for this figure. This figure was available on internet in the Google images. I copied from there. So many people are copying from there. How do I know that I have to give a proper acknowledgement, and I don't know how to, catch hold of the original researcher? And as it is, I'm going a lot of many problems go like that. And the another clarification is the corresponding author has been my teacher. See, in some cases, the senior researcher passes on the buck to the junior researcher that I told him to make corrections, but he has not done it. And there is another case also, which is the other way around. The junior researcher passes the buck to the senior one. He says that, my God, my guide told me, the senior researcher under whom I am conducting this research, he told me to write like this, and I had no idea that he will be plagiarizing from some other sources. My God, he is such a reputed teacher. Okay? So these are some common clarifications. But as I told you, I have not put them here for fun's sake. I have put them here for your serious consideration while making a plagiarism policy of the institute. We should take all precautions that such and such cases may happen. So what should we do to control them? And at the end, see, because we are talking about ethics, research ethics. So for ethics, this gentleman has to say that it's not the honors and the prizes and the fancy outsides of life which ultimately nourish our souls. It is the knowing that we can be trusted, that we never have to fear the truth, that the bedrock of our very being is good stuff. And these to make sure that my lecture has not been plagiarized, I put all the sources here at the end, as well as you might have seen that in my various slides I've given the proper information sources. I put it there. So this way I prepared my lecture, and with this I end my lecture.
Thank you,
And
madam.
I'll stop sharing the screen, sir. Diman sir, can I do this now?
Dr. Anand, please.
Can I
Dr.
stop
Anand?
sharing my screen?
I think you can do it, but you should be there. And I think 4 or 5 questions I will take from the audience. 3 of them I have noted from chat. So you must be there for some time, madam.
Okay.
So firstly, I thank to Dr. Veena Prakashe for her nice lecture on research ethics, in which she has touched upon the attribution of good research and academic research, further sources of ethics. Sources of ethics can be
अभी 27 और 31 को है.
Hello participants, just wait for some time. I am briefing the lecture, and then we'll take your questions. So she has touched upon the attribution of the good research and academic research, further ethics, sources of ethics, from where you can get what is you may say that right research, or what are you doing wrong while you are conducting your research. So you can learn from your mentor, your advisor, your supervisor, your students, and your friends. Further, there are professional organizations which conduct on courses on the ethical aspect, and also courses are there. Further, scientific knowledge and plagiarism, author responsibility, and what is the publishing, what is your contribution, and contribution should not be further expansion of the previous researches or duplication, or further incremental research should be avoided, and plagiarism, most of important aspect that has to be kept in mind. Plagiarism should be avoided in every research. So I think each and every participant might be satisfied with her presentations, and I have noted 3 or 4 questions from the chat. Before that, I would like to thank Dr. Veena Prakashe, and I have seen Dr. Dharmendra Mehta from Ujjain, Dr. Ibol Singh from, he's my friend, just like Veena Prakashe. He is from Manipur. and Dr. Sunil Upadhyay, environmental scientist. He is from Agra. My close friend Dr. R.T. Mishra, and he is also environmental scientist in DD University, Gorakhpur. I have seen chat from them, and few of our participants want to ask something. First question I am taking, that was from Subhojit. He has suggested that ethical considerations such type of the courses should be included just starting from the school level. What is your opinion, madam? Ethics should be taught from the primary level. He has suggested.
Well,
So what do you think?
yes. So I think this question need not be answered because the question itself has the answer in it. That the training or the preaching regarding ethics start when a child is in infant stage. You see, because the child is first of all taught by his or her mother, his parents, and then by the school teachers and the college teachers, and of course the society. The society becomes a very impactful ethical teacher on a particular individual. But when it comes to research, of course there are other certain factors, different factors also, which amount to ethical practices, which are in terms of ethical code and ethical committees through which all the ethical codes are enforced. Yeah.
You are right. So, such type of the courses, or at least 1 unit or 2 units, should be included. I think from at least from the 6th class and onwards. And Dr. Mehta also has given her consent to ask a question. Dr. Mehta, if you are online, Dr. Mehta from Ujjain, you want to ask something? Dr. Mehta, please, if you are there. I think he has left. So anything is the session open, and 1 or 2 questions we may take. Any participant want to ask something? I think most of the participants are satisfied now.
Okay.
I think Dr. Mehta is coming here. I think connection problem is there. Anyhow, email of Madam will be shared by LP professionals organizations. So you may continue your queries through email. She will answer. Dr. Anand.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So can I conclude the session?
Yes, sir. So at the end, I just want to invite Mr. Salek Chand. He will come and he will speak something about for the next conference announcement or whatever he want. Okay. So just give 1 minute chance to Mr. Salek Chand to come.
Just 1 minute to me. Just give 1 minute to me, and then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
I thank everybody. I thank everybody, each participant. I am thankful to each and every participant, and also our invitee speaker, Dr. Veena Prakashe, for sharing her views, and LP, Library Professional Organization, to give me this opportunity to share my views and conduct this seminar. And I am thankful to Dr. R.N. Malviya, yourself, Dr. Jha, and Salek Chand sir. And now it is over to Salek Chand sir.
Thank you, Dr. Namaste, ma'am. On behalf of the entire family of Library Professional Association, really we are thankful to ma'am, to you, to meet you again after long back. And as you remember, we met in the Prakashe meeting. We enjoyed to make a plant tree.
Yes.
You know very well. But really, lecture was very nice, and you have explained everything, every aspect of the research ethics related. And thank you very much. And thanks to Dr. Anil sir for coordinating and moderating this webinar. And thanks to our president, Dr. R.N. Malviya, and entire team of the hosting team, especially Mr. Anand for his technical support and other support. He's doing well day and night. His efforts are really appreciable, and we thanks to all of you. Just I would like to announce one or two things with you. Our next seminar is going to be held on 27th, and the speaker will be from the IIT Kharagpur, from the National Digital Library of India, and the next on 31st, the speaker will be Dr. Nija Singh from Chandigarh. This small announcement, and we are really all participants enjoyed this session, and I may request all the participants to see their mail because our IT head, Mr. Anand, he will send you all the certificates to you, including the PPT whenever we received from Dr. Veena ji. Then as and when we received from her, we can share all the PPTs and presentation, including the video, to all the registered delegates and registered participants. So with these words, thank you to all of you, and thank you very much again. We will meet again very soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yes, sir. A smaller announcement. So those who want to watch the video later, they just go to the Moving World YouTube channel and subscribe that channel. So all the webinars recording, they can get from there and they can access anytime. And in future, if anyone want to collaborate for any seminar, webinar, conference, and anything, they can contact to the Moving World. They are very professional people. They are doing very good job in this field. So their website is movingworld.in. So anytime they can contact for them, and they are doing a very good job and very smoothly they are doing the job. Okay, so thanks to all of the participants, and we will meet again on 27th. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye, Veena ji.